Welcome to KT's May Card and Craft Club video tutorial for card boxes. This month you'll receive all the instructions, color instructions, step-by-step instructions with all the measurements, and the last page shows you some note cards that you can use to put in these card boxes. But feel free to use any design that you like. It'll hold 4 or more cards with envelopes. Okay, let's get started. With step 1 in your instructions, it says to cut a piece of designer scrapbook paper. You want it 11 inches by 10 inches. And it gives the measurements here that we're going to score along the 11-inch side. We're going to score according to your directions. Just score along those lines, those exact measurements that I've given you. And then you're going to turn your paper in the 10-inch direction. So this measures 10 inches, and we're going to score along the 10-inch measurements that I've given you in your instructions. Score all the way along those lines. And then you're going to take a ruler and you're going to measure along the upper right and upper left side. You're going to measure down 3 3/4 inch, and you're going to make a mark right there on each side. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. You're going to measure down 3 3/4 and put a mark there. All right. And then I would suggest one thing that's going to make it very easy. If you go ahead and cut out one ahead of time, just as your template. If you're going to make a lot of these boxes, it's so simple then to just take a pencil and you can just very quickly mark where all your cut measurements are going to be. This really speeds things up. You don't even need to measure that 3 3/4 inch every time. But these boxes are so easy to make, you'll want to make them as gifts for people. So this is just a very quick way if you'll just make a template ahead of time. So in your instructions, now we're on step 3. We made the dot along the side, and now we're going to do our cutting. It says to cut at a 45-degree angle to the first score line. So we're going to do that. We're going to cut, I'm going to cut inside the lines, although it's not going to show. And then we're going to cut on the other side, 45-degree angle. All right. And then it says in the north and south direction only, you're going to cut along the 2-inch and the 8-inch fold lines to the second score line, and then you're going to cut it 90-degree angle. So I'm cutting here, I'm cutting along the 8-inch score line, and then you just cut out to the 90-degree angle, just like that. And then I'm going to do the other 8-inch score line up here, and then you cut right at 90-degree angle. And so we're going to do that on both sides. Now I'm at the 2-inch line and cut at a 90, cut at a 90-degree angle. And we're going to do the same thing here. I'm cutting at the 90-degree angle, and I'm cutting along the 2-inch line right up to the second score line. And there you have your basic card box base. Alright, and then in step 4, you're going to want to fold along all the score lines with a bone folder. And you can do that very quickly. Everything folds right to the center. So you'll do that on all the score lines, and then you'll take a corner rounder and you'll just round all the edges here on the north and south directions only. You want to do that corner rounding, just like that. Alright, so we're going down now to the optional section that I showed you there. I said you could, as an option, you can, if you'd like, make an extra little flap that will show a nice little border here on the upper flap. And a very quick way to do that is to just take a piece of paper and just put your box down right to the first score line and just take a pencil around there, cut that out, and this is what you have. And you would just adhere that then to the inside of your top flap, and you let, about 1/4 of an inch show there. And when you close your box, that'll give a nice look. I'll show you later. We're going to now go to putting the red sticky tape in step 4. We're going to put red sticky tape on 2 pieces on the right and the left flaps. And you just want to make sure that your red sticky tape does not extend beyond this angle here, or else it will show. So we've got the red sticky tape placed. Let me just pull off that protective red strip. And now we're moving on to step 5. In step 5, you're going to bring the bottom flap and adhere it over the red tape. And this is a really important information. I put it there in a note below in step 5, that when you align the corners, you want to make sure, first of all, that the edges come right together at the bottom. And then you want to make sure that this top flap overlaps this top piece just ever so slightly, a little bit over the top there. If it's too far this way, when you close it, you'll be able to see the sides up here and it won't look very nicely. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to try to make sure that that bottom edge is nice and tight there, and then this top piece should be slightly over this bottom piece. So I'm going to make sure that the corners down here are tight, and then I'm just going to slightly have it hang over ever so slightly. And you just press it down just to hold it in place. And then I'm showing in step 6, it helps to turn the box over and then hold the flap back like that, and use a bone folder or a ruler to really push down on the bottom of each flap to really secure that red sticky tape. And then at this point, you would go ahead and add your cards. And then you just fold the flap over, and with a piece of ribbon, let's see, a piece of ribbon about 30 inches long. The way you can tell how much ribbon you need is give yourself a little bit of a very end, the tail end there, and pretend that you're going to have one side of the ribbon there. Bring it along the bottom, make another bunny ear, and then give yourself plenty of room to bring that ribbon around and tie. Alright, so now we're going to take a piece, it's about 30 inches that I have here. And you can tie your ribbon on the part with the flap, or you can tie it on the back. And then we're just going to do the perfect bow here. A little modification though. You can check on YouTube for my videos on how to tie the perfect bow. It does help if you have the cards inside here. It gives a little bulk. It's a little bit difficult to tie when it's empty. But if you're all by yourself, I would suggest when you're using sheer ribbon, I would suggest that you go ahead and just knot the ribbon, because sheer ribbon moves around so much it's hard to work with. So if you don't have someone to put their finger in there while you're tying the bow, this is a little bit easier. So I've knotted it. And then instead of coming around the top, I'm going to come around the bottom here and through the loop. And then you have a little room to play with this. Bring the sides, align it just how you'd like it. And then you just take a very sharp pair of scissors. I like to leave a pair of scissors I use only on ribbon, because if they're not sharp it will fray the edges of the ribbon. And then you can cut at an angle, whichever angle you'd like. And that's your